Yo, it's your boy, Kenny. Welcome back to Fandom Frequency, y'all, where we talk about everything in the multiverse of pop culture. If you haven't already, click like, click subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast feed, welcome. Keep on clicking those download buttons and follow our podcast networks all across the internet. And make sure you don't miss a single episode coming straight into your feed and get it for your commute, y'all. But with no further ado, welcome to Fandom Frequency Show, episode 17. We're talking about some really cool topics today, y'all. It's going to be a very lean, quick, short, and to the point episode today. And with no further ado, guys, let's get right into this first topic here. And it is a album review. And we're going to be talking about one of the most hotly anticipated albums in the world of hip-hop amongst certain people or whatever, and somewhat of a return. It's Logic, Vinyl Days, just released a couple weeks ago in June, on like June 17th, I believe. And it has a whopping 30 tracks on this motherfucker, so it's essentially a double album in a single album. I'm like, goddamn, holy shit, that's pretty long. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick's album's pretty long. Make sure you keep your eyes out for that review. That's coming soon to y'all as well. But anyway, Logic Vinyl Days, man, and just to give you guys some background on me as a Logic fan, I've been a Logic fan since like 2013, 2012, something like that. So I've been a fan of Logic for quite some time, like literally like a decade, close to it now. And just around the time he was starting to blow up, but not when he blew up. And then once he did, I was still rooting for the guy. I've loved most of his output. Most of the albums and projects he's made have been pretty damn cool. To at least have been pretty damn good to really dope. So I fucks with Logic pretty heavy. And all my, friends and family and colleagues and all that stuff. Anyone that knows my music taste knows that I fuck with Logic. So I am a Logic fan, and I definitely was looking forward to this album. And I knew he wasn't going to stay retired for too long, because I know it's just in his veins, you know what I'm saying? He's just so passionate about the craft and about making music and about being an MC and getting on the mic. So I just knew that he would come back to the game when he felt ready and when he felt rejuvenated. And that's exactly what he did here on this project. And I think he didn't produce like every beat on the album. I'm not too sure, but I think he did do a good amount of the production on here. But regardless of exactly who did it or what, I didn't exactly do the research for it, to be honest with you. But the fucking production on this album is fire. It is fire, man. It is like that straight up boom bap old school shit that you used to know, that you used to hear, and that shit that us hip hop heads love and hip hop heads like me know. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that's ever gonna beat just that classic boom bap. I love a lot of the stuff that goes on today, all this new wave stuff, man. A lot of great music is coming out today, and the way that people blend genres together, and the way that hip hop is evolving, and all the different trees and all the different branches on the hip hop tree, if you will. Logic reference. And that's how you do it, man. You got to embrace the new and the old. And I love how Logic is paying homage to what came before and getting back to his young Sinatra roots, back in the mixtape days, back in the basement days. You know what I'm saying? Over there in West Deer Park, like he likes to say, just that old school shit, just him on a mic spitting some crazy ass bars, coming up with the craziest flows and having the dopest samples and just the craziest beats, man, just going in. And that is the Logic that I always love first and foremost. I am a person that I'm actually really grateful and happy that Logic has experimented with his sound over the course of his career and hasn't done the same thing repeatedly over and over and over again. I actually give him a lot of credit for being able to reinvent himself over the course of his career. You know what I'm saying? So I always like to give him a shout out there. You know what I'm saying? And all of that stuff right there is what really makes Logic stand apart for me as an artist, and that is no different here. You see him really harken back to his roots, but you could definitely see the difference in what he was doing then as opposed to what he's doing now. And the progression of Logic, man, is so evident on this project, bro. Like, if you don't think this project has dope bars on it, you don't understand rap or hip hop or any of that shit whatsoever, bro. This is it right here, man. And I just really dug this album for the most part, like from top to bottom. There's only like maybe a 2-3 tracks I didn't particularly love as much as the others, but pretty much every other track I fucks with. And I have quite a few to mention for my favorite tracks, if you will. And man, you know what I'm saying? Like Rogue One. What's the other one, man? Oh man, I gotta pull up the list right quick. Hold on a second. But yeah, Decades was pretty damn dope. I really love Tetris, even though that was really quick, short, sweet, to the point. Therapy Music is also one of my favorites as well. I really love Early Bird, 10 Years. What was that? Porter One. Man, Royce to 5'9" on 10 Years. His verse, I'm like, God damn, Royce, stop killing the game this way, bro. Give some other people a chance. Breath Control with Wiz Khalifa. Wiz did his thing on there, you know what I'm saying? But the way that Logic or whoever did the beat, like the way they flipped that Cushion OJ sample and that whole beat switch in there, man, just chef's kiss. Beautiful stuff, man. Just shit that hip hop is all about right there, man. And I can just go on, bro. Like Orville with Blue and Exile and Like, bro. Come on, man. Carnival with AZ. I was like, damn, when's the last time any of my fellow hip hop fans, when's the last time we heard AZ? When's the fucking last time you heard AZ? If you heard him recently, comment that shit down below and drop a link, bro. I would love to hear that because I can't tell you the last time I heard about AZ being featured on a track. For real, though. And also, the title track, fucking DJ Premier on the beat, man. I always wanted to hear Logic spit over a DJ Premier beat. And it finally fucking happened, man. I just love it, man. And I love how this doesn't have like a complex theme to it. It's not a concept album. It's just straight up bars and beats, man. And just killing it. And just getting and assembling like this like murderous row of features from new to the old school, man. I just really, really love this album, man. It's definitely gonna go down as one of my favorites this year. I don't exactly know which ones are still to come at this moment in the hip hop genre overall, but in the hip hop genre alone, I can't say for every genre. I don't know every album coming out because we'll have some other genres on here soon too. If I hear about some other releases, I want to do Red Hot Chili Peppers. Give me some time, I might be able to get to that. But yeah, anyways, getting back to the Logic. Back from the tangent. But yeah, man, I really thoroughly enjoyed this album, man, and there's really not much complaints I can say other than the fact that I think there's a few too many interludes and little cutscenes on the album, to be honest with you. I feel like he could have like took out 5 or 6 of them and it would have cut the album down to like a good 24, 25. And I think that just would have streamlined the listening experience a little bit when you're listening to it, you know what I'm saying? And just overall, I just thought the album was a little too long. Just a little bit. No really like trash songs on there. The only one I really didn't love as much was actually, I meant to say, I mixed it up. Decades was a song I didn't love as much. In My Lifetime was pretty cool with Action Bronson. Didn't love that one. La Donda was okay. And that was it. Those were the only tracks I really wasn't as like heavy on as like the rest of it. But the rest of the album, man, fire. Dope shit, man, from top to bottom. I am thoroughly impressed and totally satisfied with this album as a Logic fan. But I want to hear from y'all out there in the comments, in the section below. Let me know what you think about this latest Logic album, Vinyl Days. I want to know also, is this shit going to be on physical? Come on, Logic. I want to get a physical copy of this shit, bro. Hook a brother up, man. Let me know in the comments below if you collect vinyl or CDs or tapes or any of that shit. Do you collect physical media like your boy as well, man? Because I want this thing on physical. I want to be able to hold this thing in my hands. Hook a brother up, man. Come on, Logic. Let's get on it. But either way, I want to know what you thought about the album down below in the comments. I want to get into a discussion with y'all. I'll probably give this thing a goddamn 9 out of 10. This album is great. Man, oh my gosh, this year is chock full of great hip hop albums so far, man. There's only one in particular, maybe two, that I want to get to that I might actually end up reviewing here on the channel as well. So y'all let me know if you want to hear about those. I think you guys can figure it out. One's a very recent release within the last week. One's from like several months ago, but it's a pretty big rapper that's been around for several decades. So I think y'all will be able to figure it out. But might be squeezing in some more album reviews, but make sure you keep your eyes open for the Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album review. Is going to be a whole separate video unto itself, separately here on the channel, exclusively on the YouTube channel. No podcast feed for that, exclusively on the YouTube. So make sure if you're listening on the podcast right now, you run on over to YouTube real quick, hop on over, open up a different tab, do whatever you got to do, open it up on your phone when you stop the car. Not at a red light, when you stop the car and turn the key, man, and you turn it off and you get to your destination, make sure you hop on over to the YouTube's page, click subscribe so you don't miss the Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers review. It's going to be a whole thing unto itself, man. So don't go anywhere and don't sleep on that shit, y'all. But let's keep this train a-rolling. And we're going to go right into our next topic of the show. And I got to tell you, this show is a fucking delight that I'm about to get into. It is such a pleasant surprise. It was so low on my expectation level. Not that I thought it was going to be bad per se. Just didn't think I was really going to dig it nearly as much as I am. Miss Marvel episodes 3 and 4. A little late to the party on these, man, but we're catching up real quick. Had to make sure I got this out on the channel and out to you guys and got my voice heard out in the multiverse of fandom because I love this series so far. This show is exactly what I needed right now. It is such a great palate cleanser. It is so energetic. It is so fun. But at the same time, it is so well done and so well written, man. The storytelling and the character building is never sacrificed for the sake of action or humor or any of that stuff, man. And it doesn't rely on all the tropes just to get you through the story. It doesn't rely solely on exposition to show you who characters are. I really dig this Miss Marvel series, man. And getting into this first episode of this particular section here, episode 3, first and foremost, before we get into 4, when she goes to her brother's wedding and all of that good jazz goes down, and how they're all talking about her ancestor, her great-grandmother, who was shamed by the family for using the bangle, apparently to do some kind of savior stuff, and ended up killing a man, so-called, supposedly, as they say, as her relatives were gossiping about, that her great-grandmother killed a man and all this other shit, and disgraced the whole family and whatnot. So Kamala's like, oh shit, like, should I really be doing what I'm doing as Miss Marvel right now? And especially she's feeling a little guilty and conflicted at the same time about that kid that she barely, narrowly saved and almost fucked up with in the previous episode, in episode 2. So, man, it's just really rolling along in a nice way here. But she is trending on social media a little bit, so she is kind of happy about that. But otherwise, she's kind of conflicted and not sure where she should go with this thing. Her own friend, Nakia, is saying that she doesn't know if this Miss Marvel person is really just making things harder for her community and bringing a focus that is not necessarily positive for their community in a certain way. So I really dug all of that and the way that that plays into this, and just the way that all the storylines just kind of converge together, but never get sacrificed for one or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the characters get their moments to shine, and there are things to do in this episode. And Bruno and Nakia kind of fade more into the background as the episode goes on and as we get more into the wedding proceedings. And Kamala eventually ends up getting into contact with her grandmother about her needing to go over to Pakistan and go see what all this stuff is about, because she saw the same vision that Kamala saw of the train after what I thought was a very fun sequence when she's running from her crush's mom and all the clandestines and whatever, the people trying to get back home, because at first she's going to trust them and think, oh, these guys are cool, they saved my life and all this stuff, they just want to get back home. But that is not exactly the case, because they were banished for a particular reason we're still not privy to in episode 4, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But that all goes down, and then after Bruno talks to Kamala's dad and gets everything decoded from the stuff that they find about the clandestines, they find out the whole backstory and how they got banished and the fact that they might not be able to be trusted. And then she gets a call from her little crush or whatever about the fact that she's in danger and that his mom and her friends are coming after her to get the bangle right then and there at the wedding. Be warned, be ready. And he goes in to try to save her and whatnot, and then a whole chase goes down, and that's when one of the funniest scenes of the show goes down, when she's all telling the people in the kitchen that are catering the party or whatever, the wedding. She's like, "Hey, everyone, get out of here. You need to leave." And they're like, "Shut up, we're working." And then these dudes bust in, and one of the guys just punches one of the cooks out of nowhere, and this black lady in the background's like, "Oh, hell nah. That's unacceptable." And everyone just starts dipping out, and I'm like, "See? You motherfuckers should have listened and get the hell up out of Dodge." You know what I'm saying? But overall, man, it was just such a fun episode overall. And the whole like dancing sequence and all that stuff was so cool to see how the kind of different traditions go down in their culture for weddings as opposed to American culture and all that good stuff. So I was really digging all that. And overall, man, it's just such an enjoyable episode. While it's moving the plot along in such a fun and innocent and almost coming of age kind of way, at the same time, you're still getting all the action and the superhero stuff and all the intrigue of what's going on with the backstory of the bangle that gives her powers, and all that just really plays together and comes together in such a great way. It plays so well over the course of the series so far, and with those first 3 episodes, man, completely flawless in the way that the storytelling is unfolding here. I'm really digging everything, and I'm really digging the way that it's setting everything up for this back half of the season. And getting into episode 4 now, man, this episode just took the series to a whole nother level, man. I absolutely love this episode even more. You get introduced to this whole Red Dagger group of people that are, apparently the good guys and stuff like that, trying to help Kamala get away from her, from the clandestines and all that stuff, and telling her the real backstory and telling her all the real info about what's going down, and trying to let her know, like, hey, we're not your enemies, we're your friends, we're your allies, we're on your side. Come with us. We could let you know what goes down. And the whole way that she gets introduced to these guys, when she runs into the one guy on the street and ends up getting into a fight with him, that was such a fun sequence, man. And the whole way that she goes back to not her hometown, but back to her homeland, back to Pakistan or whatever, back to where her family comes from to visit her grandmother with her mother. And all that comes into play there because her grandmother's telling her, like, hey, I know about our lineage. I know about the clandestines. I know about the jinn, all that stuff. We were part of that lineage. I always tried to tell your mother about it. But apparently, as we see in the present, she tried to push all that stuff away in the past and went away to America to get away from me and all that stuff. And she even blames her mother for her father leaving, a.k.a. Kamala's grandfather leaving. So all of that comes into play, and all the family drama stuff I thought was written so well and really plays in here, but doesn't detract away from the main plot because it's all essential to the main plot. And the way that goes along is just constant character development for Kamala Khan and her whole family, and all that playing into it without being too boring, without bogging down the fun and the action and the suspense of what's going on and what we're leading to by the end of the series, man. And getting to see the whole, and the one thing that I got to say too that I absolutely loved about this episode, and my favorite moment of the show so far, one of my favorite moments in these Marvel series period, is this chase sequence that goes down in the streets when that group of Kamran, that's his name, of Kamran's mom and her homies going after Kamala and these other guys, the Red Daggers. That is one of the best chase sequences I've seen, other than the Batman earlier this year, in a long fucking time, in at least a handful of years. That is one of the best chase scenes I've seen, just like on foot, on car, on bike, whatever, in a truck. They're all over the place, man, cutting through little corners, going under and over vehicles and shit, flipping vehicles over, man. Like, it is just so damn thrilling and so exciting to watch. I absolutely loved it, man. It is just so damn fun, and I'm just having a blast with this thing. I was having a blast watching this episode, man, and just the whole way that this plays out and the way that the episode ends up to where Kamala, in the middle of a big confrontation with these guys, ends up seemingly getting sent back in time to the Great Partition. So what the fuck does that mean? I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but it really sets up episode 5 to be infinitely more interesting. And the way that this is tying up for these last 2 episodes, I'm not quite sure yet, but it's going to be so damn interesting to see. And the fact that Nakia also found out about Kamala at the end of episode 3, leading in episode 4 now, that hasn't been resolved yet. So we got to resolve that whole thing about her finding out about Kamala being Miss Marvel and her whole abilities and all that stuff. And all this stuff is going to have to come to a head here in the next episode. But I want to hear from y'all. What did you think about these 2 episodes of Miss Marvel? And what do you think about Miss Marvel overall as a series in the MCU? What have you? Let me know in the comments, guys. I want to discuss it with y'all like I always say. And I'm going to give episode 3 a 8.75 out of 10. And I'm going to give episode 4 a 9.5 out of 10. I absolutely love this episode. One of my all-time favorite episodes of any MCU show. I might have to do a ranking at some point here. But this show, man, I'm telling you, if they stick the landing, this might crack the top 3 of my MCU shows so far, man. So I'm going to have to do a whole new ranking, and it might be switching things up. So make sure you guys stay tuned and don't sleep on any of that future content, guys. We're going to have Miss Marvel stuff coming in for these final 2 episodes here real soon next week and the following week. So stay tuned on that, guys. But now it is time for the headlining act, the final topic of the show. Obi-Wan Kenobi finale, man. And I got to say, this episode was chef's kiss, amazing. I loved it. There was a few things that I had issues with overall, which we will get into here shortly, but I definitely dug this episode quite a bit. So everything beginning with the beginning of the episode where we left off in episode 5, which I know I'm not quite sure if we discussed that on the channel, but getting into that just a little bit real quick. I thought episode 5 was very well done as well. Not quite as good as this episode, but overall a very, very good episode. And the whole fight with Reva and Darth Vader was amazing stuff, man. I gotta tell you, couldn't get enough of that. That was great stuff. But getting in here to the finale, starting off with Kenobi barely escaping when Vader tried to pull that ship down, which didn't have Kenobi in it. Gotcha, bitch. Comment down below if you know where that's from. But anyway, so he got him. They get away, and they're hot on their tail in the Imperial cruiser, blasting at him. And the Inquisitor's like, why are we going after just Kenobi, man? Fuck that shit. I don't care if he's in that transport, because Obi-Wan's trying to get away to divert their attention, so they go after him. He's like, fuck that, let's get all these other people. And Vader's like, fuck off, bro. I'm getting Obi-Wan, all right? Stay your bitch ass here. And then he goes off and he's like, get my ship ready. And he's going to go off and get that Obi-Wan rematch going. And I got to tell you, once we do get that rematch going, holy shit, hallelujah. Man, this is one of the best lightsaber duels in quite some time. I gotta tell you, man, one of the best in quite some time. I absolutely loved the lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader, man, because that was everything I wanted from the series right there when it comes to so many different aspects to it. Just the dialogue back and forth between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and about him saying, like, man, I thought you were still my friend, bro. Like, I thought part of you was still in you, you know? And he's like, nah, bro, you didn't kill Anakin. I did, homie. I killed Anakin Skywalker. I'm Darth Vader, man. I'm Darth Vader now. Get with the program. This is what it is, homie. And all that stuff, and just the whole overall, all that character building and the conflict between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, to me, was a little bit underutilized throughout this series and not as focused on as I initially thought it was gonna be. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's, my own fault for having those expectations. But overall, I just thought it wasn't quite all the way there in that regard, and didn't take advantage enough of having Hayden Christensen back and having Vader and Obi-Wan together in a series, and really building on those previous, seeds laid back in the original trilogy. Obi-Wan once thought as you did, and all that stuff. And a little bit of that's still there with the way that they executed it in this finale. But overall, I just thought this should have been the focus more so throughout the series, as opposed to maybe focusing on Inquisitors and other things more so. You know what I'm saying? And And just in retrospect, after thinking about it now for a while, almost a week here, it just seems like, I don't know, like a little over a week here, it just seems like there could have been a little bit of a better way to kind of build up to this great confrontation that we did get. But overall, this confrontation in and of itself, in a nutshell, is fan-fucking-tastic, man. Like when Vader buries fucking Obi-Wan and all those rocks and fucking stones and shit, and then he ends up fucking getting up and jumping out of there, raising them all up and throwing them back at Vader, and then fucking up his suit and all that, and then cutting part of his mask off. Star Wars Rebels style, you know what I'm saying? And revealing part of his face for that whole, dialogue and that whole, like, monologue back and forth between those guys, man. That whole confrontation just was so well done, man. And just the way that they even used the red and blue lighting from the lightsabers to signify, like, references to, like, showing signs of Anakin and showing signs of Vader, and then having Obi-Wan with the blue reflected off of him, you know what I'm saying, was just so well fucking done, man. I loved it. I gotta say, man, like, this finale was just so damn well done, dude. The only real complaints I have with it overall is that the Reva stuff, to me, didn't quite line up and make sense for me or get all the way there, because it's like, all right, fine, she could survive getting stabbed in the stomach. We've seen way crazier shit at this point. Qui-Gon seems a little bit of a bitch now after just getting stabbed once, when goddamn Darth Maul got chopped in half and he's back up in the bitch for a while, so I don't get it. But anyways, moving on from that. Reva going after Luke, Beru, and Owen, to me, just seems like a complete waste of time and just a very forced way of doing a redemption arc for her character. Now, the one thing I will highlight that is a positive, though, throughout this storyline is Moses Ingram's performance as this character, and it really comes through in this episode, especially. These last two, episode 5 and this finale, and episode 6, was such a strong performance and so much better than her performance was earlier in the season. And I got to tell you, she really, really impressed me here in the finale. And that definitely played well. And I think she definitely made that work a lot more better than a more less capable actor could have. You know what I'm saying? Actress, whatever the fuck you want to say. But either way, man, she really came through, I thought, in the performance and acting department. But overall, I just thought that storyline was just a bit uneven throughout the entire series as a whole, just kind of getting into the series as a whole, too, at the same time while we do this thing. And it just was a little bit disappointing and a bit distracting, you know? And it was very predictable, even before the series dropped, that she had a very high, like, possibility of turning to the light side, of kind of, doing the same old trope of someone getting a redemption arc when it's very forced and doesn't necessarily play the same way that it did originally with Vader going through the original trilogy and building up from the prequels. You know what I'm saying? It was a fresh thing back then in 1983 when they did that. Now it's just kind of tired and kind of played out from Kylo Ren, Starkiller, all these different characters that have done this, man. It's just so played out at this point that, I just want to see something a little more fresh and just to see a little more focus on the conflict between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. The real reason that you showed up to watch the series overall, you know what I'm saying? Now, what we get with those characters, to me, works extremely well every single second we get it. But it just needed more time, a little more time to marinate and really come through in the series and make an even bigger impact overall in this thing, man. But I gotta say, the finale was very well done overall. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but I want to know what you guys thought about it. Let me know in the comments below about that. Most importantly here, I want to know what you thought about Obi-Wan Kenobi. All my Star Wars fans, let's get into a respectful, fun discussion about this thing, man. And I also want to say thank you for checking out this latest episode of the Fandom Frequency Show. This one is going to be a little bit shorter. You know what I'm saying? Your boy's a little busy today. Got to get to that 9 to 5 in a little bit, man. But I wanted to make sure to get this episode out to y'all this weekend. And speaking of this weekend, Stranger Things Season 4, Stranger Things 4, Volume 2 just dropped the day of this recording, guys. So make sure that you check this thing out. And after you do, you hop on over back onto this channel, back onto the podcast network, however you like to do it, and listen into our recap and spoiler discussion of Season 4 of Stranger Things. Volume 2 is going to be dropping by early this coming week, so make sure you tune in for that, guys. We got a lot of Stranger Things content coming at you guys. We got some more movie reviews coming down the pike. Gonna surprise you guys with those. And we got recaps coming from Miss Marvel as well. And don't be sleeping. Thor Love and Thunder next weekend, so we're gonna have a review coming for that. Obviously, The Boys. We got a lot of stuff coming, guys. So make sure you stay tuned. You don't sleep. Thanks for checking out this latest episode. Make sure you stay safe out there. Have a great 4th of July weekend. Peace.